I guess the one thing that I want to say is that I'm the your biggest ally when it comes to selections. I want to make your home look as beautiful as you want it to. So I'm going to be right there beside you, helping you make all those decisions.
Okay, we're sitting here with Heather. Heather works at Dueck Builders and is in charge of kind of the office end of the project management side of things, tracking all the selections, updating the budgets. Heather, I've kind of given a brief intro, but for the people who haven't met you, what's your role with Dueck?
I am the project coordinator. So I'm going to coordinate all of the moving pieces that are not actually happening on site. So ordering everything, scheduling everything, working with your budget, and making sure that the trades that do the work on your project are invoicing the correct amount and then getting paid.
And aware of when they need to be
Yes.
on your project. And so, what do you love most about the role?
I really like getting to know the people on all sides, the customers and the vendors and the trades, and getting a team together to make a beautiful home.
So you've been in the industry here for some time. I'll let you decide if you're given the exact number. What maybe give us a bit of your background. What brought you to construction?
I grew up in a construction household. So my grandfather was very involved in building his own home and building different things. My dad, again, built lots of things, including the garage in our backyard. So when I started my career a few years ago, there was just a natural draw to construction. And I love seeing homes come to fruition and being able to drive through neighborhoods and see that I put my finger on the pulse of that community.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of construction kids who know that feeling of being in the back seat and mom or dad is saying, "And I worked on this house, and I
Yeah,
worked on this."
exactly. Exactly. My poor kids, I do that to them all the time.
I think I've told there's this one house on the number 7 that it was a timber framed house on the way to Arborg, left hand side on the way to Arborg. I tell them every time that I worked on it, and I'm sure they're sick of it. But so you work with homeowners during a pretty emotional event in their life. Like it's a big thing to build a home, and there's lots of selections, probably more than most are aware of that they'll need to make. What's your style for keeping homeowners grounded and kind of focused and calm and not overwhelmed by all of the selections?
Well, it's really easy in the beginning to take that excited momentum and help them make some easy decisions in the beginning, and then stretch out what you need to stretch out for timing and help them somewhere along the way make the decisions that they need to make.
Yeah. Do you find they kind of fall in place a little easier? Like, you knock off some of the big ones first and then they help inform later decisions?
It really does. It kind of narrows the broad field. So there are some decisions out there that are pretty easy. They're pretty straightforward. Do you want shingles on your house? Yes. Okay, what color are we going to do? And then they pick.
Right.
And then you get into some of the other items and you start to tie everything in together. So you're not going to go way out in left field with some of the decisions because you want it to look all cohesive together. So the same goes for inside. Once you start making some decisions, it's easier to make other decisions.
Kind of gets made as part of a system.
Right.
Selections here, obviously, in a custom home, they're a large part of every home, and there's not like a boilerplate template. So, what, in your perspective, is the biggest role that selections play in making a house a home?
Well, we're really putting their stamp and their imprint on the house. So if they really want to explore interior selections that are similar to a show home or a design home, or they find an inspiration home and they want to match that.
Right.
So it's their individual choices that can tweak what that interior of that home looks like, that overall idea.
Makes it their home,
Makes
not
it their
just
home.
that show home they saw.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and maybe their home doesn't have as many bedrooms, or maybe it has more bathrooms, or maybe it's a different shape or whatever, and different selections need to be made.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're working with customers, I'm sure you've realized by now that there's lots of things they're not aware of early on, and there's kind of this moment where it hits. What are some of those things that clients don't realize about how early decisions, like their windows and plumbing and flooring, impact the whole build.
Lots of items, lots of selections rely on other items that you're selecting. So then if you get into cabinetry and they decide that they want to have wood cabinetry, but then they decide that they want to have hardwood, it's going to make them pivot one or the other.
Right.
So you get into making some decisions and then realizing that you might have to make some tweaks. So it's really nice to get some of those decisions done early on so that there's time to make those tweaks if you need to.
Right, right. Like they fell in love with a certain type of flooring, but then they realize they have to go back to cabinets, like you
Yes.
were saying, and
Yes,
change stuff up.
or countertops. Maybe their flooring is busier and now they need to adjust their countertops because their countertop that they had selected in that cabinet process was a busy countertop and it doesn't tie in.
Right. Yep. And even sinks, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I want an undermount sink. Well, then you can't have plastic laminate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how does that help when clients are able to really like narrow in their focus early on? How does that help the selection process down the road?
Well, it really takes off a lot of the pressure. So if you use that early excitement momentum and they make some decisions and they move forward, then that the rest of the decisions that have to be made can be spread out a little bit further. It means you don't have to be constantly thinking of what decision you have to make next or having multiple meetings. If they are decisive, it's really, really helpful to get through and see that checklist start to get smaller and smaller and smaller because they've made all those decisions.
Right, bit of momentum,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mike moves it along pretty fast on site.
Yeah, he really does. So if you know that it's going to take you longer to make some decisions, the earlier you get going on the easy decisions, the better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this sounds very like spreadsheety, but there's a human side to this too. And you've seen all of kind of the personalities, the decisive ones, the overwhelmed ones, the, all types of different people. What kind of patterns are there? Patterns you notice in people?
There is an amazing pattern when it comes to couples, and I think it's hilarious that every couple, a visual person marries a non-visual
Huh.
person. So the person that is envisioning this home in their head, the other person can't picture it at all. And they don't get it until they walk in on possession day and then they see it and they go, "Oh my god, I get it now."
Yeah,
Like, it's so funny that that has always been a trend where the visual person marries a non-visual person.
yeah, yeah. And that must lead to there must be an overwhelm moment for that non-visual person because there's a lot of selections. Do you find that happens? Is there a predictable time when that kind of overwhelmed sets in?
It usually starts hitting when you're getting into the 2nd or 3rd. It's usually the 3rd item that they're starting to put together. So when you're dealing with your exterior, you take one item, you take another item, they can see that they coordinate. But as soon as you start putting in the 3rd item and you wanna add soffit fascia or you wanna add, a feature to the outside, they
Right,
start to, like their eyes glaze over, and they can't picture this in physical materials on this 2D elevation picture that you're showing them.
right.
So some of the new technologies out there are really going to help those non-visual people get on board with their spouse
Yeah,
who
yeah,
can picture it
yeah.
all.
So what you're saying is you're part-time marriage counselor.
Can be.
You kind of hit the next one exactly. Like, what's that? How do you pull people back from that ledge, or how do you when they're getting that Pinterest overload or that oh my goodness, I don't know how this is going to work? How do you kind of help comfort them and walk them through that process?
I think it's just slowing everything down and just explaining simply, I think this is going to work. Take some pictures, go back, put the picture on your wall, look at it every day and make sure that this is the happy feeling that you get
Mhm.
when you look at that picture. Because if there's anything that you're still not sure of, well, once it's on your house, it's a big deal,
Right.
or in your house, it's a big deal. So let's just take a step back, take a minute, and just absorb what you've made those selections.
Changes are a lot easier to make ahead of time.
Absolutely. And there's time. If we get that early momentum that I was talking about, then there's time to make those adjustments and make those changes until something
Yeah.
gets ordered. And then when something gets ordered, it's a little bit more difficult.
There's a cost to it.
Yeah.
There's not always you can't always return it. There's restocking fees. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any do you have a time when a client made an unexpected choice that wound up being perfect?
I don't know if it was the choice that I would have made, but the client wanted this really, really busy bathroom flooring, really busy. And it ended up looking absolutely beautiful. And it's been in their house for 15 years and it still looks super cool and like almost trendy
Oh, that's fun.
that I was shocked that that flooring existed at a flooring company. It's really small, 1 by 1 square tiles in a whole bunch of different shades of blue, but it works.
Yeah,
And it works with the rest of the design in the home. And it's this fun feature.
that's cool.
So,
Someone's feeling pretty called out right now.
yeah.
One thing that we wanted to talk about in this podcast is exactly the selection process because, as we've kind of alluded to, the selections play a huge role in how the house looks, how it feels, how it operates. So we do it in a bit of a unique way. I mean, we're a custom home builder, and so I mean, there are more selections to be made. We do it in a bit of a unique way. We kind of phase the selections customers have to make along with the progress that happens on site. So can you walk us through a little bit kind of what the phases are and how it relates to the job site progress?
Well, the early phases, we want to make sure that anything that's to do with, well, the structural component, when you're dealing with your drawings, that that's all taken care of. And then we get into the mechanical and making sure that everything's going to function properly. Then we start closing in that building envelope, and those decisions have been made. Then we get into your exteriors and your millwork, and those things, and your windows can take a long lead time. We want to make sure that those things are taken care of so that it's not holding up your build. If it's going
So,
to take 12 weeks for your windows to come in, we need to order those 12 weeks before they're
right,
going to get put on into your house on site.
before there's even a hole in the ground for many of these.
Yes, absolutely. And same thing with the cabinetry. It can take 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings, depending on how large your home is and how much cabinetry is in there, for us to make all of those decisions. And then it can take 8 weeks, 10 weeks for the cabinetry to get built. So we want to make sure that that's ordered and done and everybody's happy before that gets ordered. And then it's available on site when we need it.
And cabinets are also a pretty big part of the budget side of things too, right?
Yes, absolutely. They are the heart of the home, so that's a really high value where you wanna spend that money because that's where you're making all your family meals and memories and
Right. It's what takes a home, you can do a $30,000 millwork allowance,
Mhm.
or you can make it a home with 80 or 100 or 300.
Yeah,
Uh, kind of sky's the limit,
yeah, it really depends on what features that you wanna see in that space, and if you're a chef style
right?
cook, then you might want to have more features in there than if you don't
Skip.
cook very much and you skip the dishes all the
Should have
time.
skipped it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, so that's all like working drawings and before breaking grounds, and there's a lot of big ticket items there. Do you find that decision fatigue starts here already, or do you find that's a little bit later with more of the coordinating finishes?
It's more I find with coordinating finishes, because with cabinetry and countertops and even with flooring, you don't see how broad the options are
Yeah,
because you can really narrow things down with a couple of simple questions. But when you get into lighting and you get into plumbing fixtures, like you can see that there are so many different options that you can go with, and that's where I usually see some people start to go, okay, well, I really need a minute because I need to wrap my head around this. Like, what
right.
direction do you really want to go? So you can not go to those um,
Ensuite.
ensuite or the lighting store and look at all of the different options, and we can narrow things down for you and send you photos of different things without having to go through that process. But sometimes it's nice to have that experience and go and look at
Right.
everything that's available. And
Touch it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's too we talked a little bit about patterns in customers, and there certainly is patterns as to how involved some customers want to get.
absolutely.
Some want to go touch feel everything, some want the designer to come back with 3 recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are thousands of different tile options out there.
Yeah.
And when you get into faucets, there's so many different things that you can look at. So sometimes not knowing what you like and what you don't like is the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, right, getting that start going.
Yeah,
So, okay, we've kind of talked phase 1, all the working drawing stuff, the mechanical systems, what the massing looks like. Phase 2, those plumbing fixtures, windows, doors, cabinetry, that's all kind of dealt with before breaking ground. Phase 3 starts to get into some of this interior stuff that we're talking about, and we asked that those requests get made before framing starts. Why that early? Like, you're not gonna put your flooring in until you've framed it up and shingled it. Why are we asking for selections that early?
well, when it comes to flooring, it can affect your staircase. So, depending on what you're doing with your staircase, if you have a 2-story, that flooring thickness can affect that. We want to make sure that any backing that needs to be in place for cabinetry is in that framing stage. We want to make sure that everything's going to fit where it needs to go. And there are a lot of framing tweaks that need to be done to the interior walls of your home to allow for these finish options.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it's pretty flexible when it's just studs nailed together.
Yeah, and you can move a stud over a 16th of an inch or half an inch because you want this to be in this spot, but it's a lot more difficult once that drywall's on the wall.
Yeah, yeah. How do you help people think through some of that, like furniture layout, or like what mistakes do you find that clients can avoid working with you?
Well, one thing that I start off with is, are you planning on keeping any existing furniture that you have? And do you have a plan for what room you want that to be in? Because if they already have the furniture, then we can do some measurements and it can be plotted onto the plan. If they're looking at buying new furniture, then we have to talk about, okay, well, are you planning on a queen size bed, a king size bed? And then we can look at the room dimensions and figure out, where's that bed going to go? Where's your head of your bed going to be? Are you planning on having nightstands? Do you want a dresser? Is your walk-in closet large enough? Do you not have a walk-in closet? There's some simple questions that you can start asking to figure out how that furniture placement's going to go and what their plans are through even the design process. It can be
Right,
quite easy to ask those questions and get that stuff ahead of time. Do they want to have bar stools at their kitchen island?
right,
How do they live in that space? What are they envisioning for that space? And they might not know, but if you ask the questions, sometimes you can ask the backwards question. And do you want to not have stools at your island?
right.
And then they realize that they do or they don't. And sometimes the backwards question is the way to go.
Right, right. Um, and then you're not stuck moving grandma's china cabinet in and it doesn't fit in the nook or not between the windows or
Yeah,
some of those kind of things.
exactly.
So that's before framing, and then we have a few more like built-ins, and there's a few more finished selections that need to be made before drywall starts. When they do fall into kind of that selection overload pattern, when do you notice the mood kind of change to woohoo home stretch?
I think once we get into painting going on the walls and they start to see things that they picked.
Right,
So yes, the exterior of the house might still only have wrap on it. It might have the finishing materials. So they pull up and it's a construction site and they might not actually get to see that visualization. But if they walk inside and the painter's putting their feature colors on the walls, then they start to realize that this is the home that they picked. This is where things are. It can also hit when the cabinets go in
right,
because you start to feel like, well, this is the place that I'm going to start cooking my dinners or those sorts of things. But I think it really hits when the paint starts going on the walls.
And it starts to the house starts to look like what they've always dreamed it would look
Yeah,
like,
and
and
what they've been planning and all the meetings that we've been in
right.
and all those little samples that we talked about are actually big and on the walls or in the space.
Yeah, and oh, it works.
Yeah,
It does look good
yeah.
together. Yeah, no, that's cool. So you are kind of the hub between trades and suppliers and project managers and customers and all those people. What what does good communication look like for you in this process?
I'm really supportive of whatever the best communication is for the person that I'm dealing with. So there are some subtrades out there that prefer phone calls, and then I follow it up with an email. There are some people that prefer text messages. That's fine too. I think that understanding who I'm talking to, making sure that they're getting the information that they need. I want to use clean, concise wording in my emails. I try to process how the reader is going to read the information, but I want to be on top of as many things as we can. Sometimes it means that we have to have in person meetings. Then we're taking some meeting notes, following up emails with meeting notes, but making sure that everybody is on the same page and has as much of the same information as everybody else.
One, you're I noticed too, you're a big believer in PowerPoints and agendas.
Yes, I do. Yeah, PowerPoint presentations really do help meetings move along quickly. I'm not searching through my files trying to find a document or trying to find a picture and then I can't find it. So, setting up the PowerPoint presentation so that you can see comparisons between options or pricing, and then we can just flip through the PowerPoint presentation, follow the meeting agenda, and feel like we actually got somewhere and we're not spending a bunch of time wasted looking for
Right.
documents.
Right. And the meetings are there for a reason.
Yeah,
Like, let's make some decisions, let's sign off on some things and have a paper copy of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. How do you balance a client's vision with realistic timelines and construction schedules?
Trying to be honest and cautious at the same time. Um, when we run into something that is a longer lead time, just that's what it is. This is where we're at. I don't think that's going to work because it's a longer lead time. But let me see if I can find something that would be a shorter lead time and fit into your vision. I love a challenge, so I have no problem reaching out to other vendors, other suppliers, and seeing if I can find something that meets all the needs, whether it's timeline issues, cost issues.
Yeah, and that goes kind of back to that communication
Yeah, absolutely.
thing where, if we're always open and honest, then there's not much to hide. Yeah, yeah, it looks great, but it's going to take 8 weeks. Do you want to wait 8 weeks for it?
Right.
Yeah, and back to also making selections earlier rather than later. How do you balance knowing the timeline and pushing people to make sure the selections are on time and yet allowing them room to think and reflect? This one's always been a tricky one.
I think that there's some space that can be allowed, and if they need time to reflect on something, I can, depending on the client, pivot and have them make a different decision
Right.
on
Okay.
something else. So if they really need to chew on whatever that one option is and they can't quite make their decision on it, okay, well, we're going to put a pin in that one, but we're going to move to this next one. And can you make a decision on that one? So that while they're still thinking about that first decision, they've made another one or two or three more. And then we can go back. Okay, you've had a little bit of time to think about it. How do you feel about it today?
Right. Yeah. And that again, that communication thing you were talking about,
Hmm.
yeah, you know what? If we don't make this decision, it's fine, but we might then be waiting on site.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit we're obviously a custom builder and we build I like to think we build a little differently. When customers are thinking about a forever home and often they come to us thinking about sustainability, how does that shape the way you have these conversations with them?
I think that when someone starts talking about their forever home, they have a different mindset on what they want that space to be like, whether rather than if you were just buying a home or building a home that it's going to be or I'm going to raise my kids in home, because long lasting materials matter and the layout of the home matters, and then you can actually be having these conversations about product warranty and durability, and this is a 15-year and this is a 20-year, and
Right.
that's going to change how they view what they're using that for. So some of the floorings out there, are great for now and they're going to be perfectly fine in 15 years, 20 years. But then if you're going to be having issues with stairs later in life, is that the flooring that you still want to have in your stairs then? Do you want to do that now and then plan to
Right.
replace it later? You can have those conversations when they're talking about their forever home. This is going to be the home that they're in now, 10 years from now, when they have grandkids.
Yeah.
And what does it look like in all of those stages of their life? Do we need to put extra backing in their bathroom because at some point they're planning on putting in supportive handrails?
Right.
And there's just a couple of extra conversations that you can have. As soon as they say forever home, we're not moving anywhere. This is we're gonna be forever. That okay, that just let's add those a couple of extra boxes to the to-do list and we'll just cover those as we go along.
Make sure it's done right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that it's easier for them down the road. Because if
Yep.
you are in your forever home, you're probably going to build it and then face a renovation in about 20 years.
Right. And
And then that renovation will be for the next 20
yeah,
years.
and then it's a question of how big of a renovation do you want
Yeah,
to do, right? Like if you think of some of these things, well, you don't have to rip the drywall off to put backing in because you
right.
did that at day one. Yeah, you
Yeah,
maybe didn't know the exact handrail you wanted or grab rail, but you put in backing
yeah,
or you put in an elevator shaft or whatever, a chase, an area for a dedicated elevator. Like if you do those things up front, makes it a $40,000 reno, not a $300,000 reno.
exactly.
Okay, so customers come, they make a decision. What happens after they've made a selection with you? What goes on behind the scenes?
So there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes with keeping that, tracking that, making sure that that information is available for everyone that needs it. So sometimes that's an email, sometimes that's storing it in our online OneDrive and then letting the suppliers know that that decision has been made, that we've made this selection and then sometimes it's ordering it right away and sometimes it's putting a pin in it until it's time to order it, but let me know if there's going to be any concerns with ordering it. There's a lot of communication that happens between suppliers and subtrades behind the scenes once you've made all of your selections.
Right. Right. Even, you make a flooring selection. Well, now do we need subfloor or now do we need yeah, lots of that behind the scenes stuff. What do you think most people don't realize that you do for them?
I have built really good relationships with a lot of suppliers and subtrades, and I always get more than one quote for everything that you select. And I treat your money in your budget like it's my money.
Hmm.
So I'm working through with suppliers. If I don't think that that's the right number, then I'm going to challenge them on it, go to another supplier, see if I can get that for the same product for a price that I think is a reasonable price.
Right. Right. Adds a bit of time, but that's part of the selection process for you.
Yeah, it can add a little bit of a time, but it's important to make sure that that your money is spread across your whole budget.
And then it frees up, if you find some savings, maybe it frees up the fancy tile.
Yeah, or that wallpaper that you found that you love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else about the selection process before we kind of move on to some fun rapid fire questions?
I guess the one thing that I want to say is that I'm the your biggest ally when it comes to selections. I want to make your home look as beautiful as you want it to. So I'm going to be right there beside you helping you make all those decisions.
And how do you balance, like, I'm sure you talked about it a little bit in the multicolor blue floor. How do you balance like drawing out what the customer wants with what you would like?
Sometimes it's hard, especially if you have some introverted clients that just nod and don't really make any strong opinions. So then it's really trying to find out what their overall view is and maybe even making the meeting a lot more lighthearted and stop talking about the
Right.
tile and stop talking about the flooring and just start becoming their friend and making jokes and just talk about real life and then eventually some of that stuff really starts to come out or they start to say okay, well, if you don't like this, tell me.
Right.
Like, is this something you don't like? Because again, that backwards question sometimes will help you get along the road a little bit better.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that, I mean, um the most helpful thing customers can do in this stage is to just be brutally honest. If
Yes.
if if we bring you something that we're excited about, tell us you hate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Be honest. If you don't like something, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt my
Well,
feelings.
yeah, we'll get over it.
Yeah.
We'll go through some fun personal rapid fire stuff. What is your favorite finish to help customers pick?
Probably flooring. Sometimes it's lighting, but it's probably flooring because there's so many fun things that you can do with flooring.
Yeah, it's not even just which flooring you pick, but how do you install it? What
Yeah.
patterns?
Yeah.
Most underrated selection.
Interior doors.
Ooh,
So interior doors can be just, yeah, whatever, they're doors. It doesn't really matter. But there are so many fun things that are out there that are available for doors that can really add a little bit more of a feature or quirkiness to your home.
yeah, yeah. Some of the hidden hinges, or
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Design trend you secretly love.
Integrated tile into hardwood.
Yeah, we're
We've
we're the same.
we've talked about that before. That hexagon tile that integrates into hardwood and then you kind of have them sprinkling through, like it's so cool.
Yeah. What? Okay, and now the flip side of that one, the reverse question: a trend you hope dies forever.
Glass inserts in cabinet doors.
The office building we just bought has glass inserts in its pantry door. Whoops. A feature every homeowner should include.
Storage for linens.
Yeah, that's an underlooked one, eh?
Yeah, you don't always think about making sure that you have that, and no one really wants to store their extra towels and sheets in their closet. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a good one.
yeah.
Okay, oh, this is a good one. We talked a little bit about being a marriage counselor. So, what selection causes the biggest couple disagreements?
It's either cabinetry or flooring. So sometimes when you get into those people that are visual and non-visual, a visual person might be more interested in having wood cabinetry, but then all the non-visual person can picture is their parents' oak kitchen from the
Mm,
1980s. So if you can't get through, and then that person probably just wants to have a white kitchen,
yeah, right. Just
and
because it's not wood.
just because it's not wood. But there are so many fun options. So navigating some of those conversations can be a little tense. So you have to find a nice segue to get through what you can suggest to not white and not your grandma's oak.
Right, right. Here is a sample. We'll get you a sample.
Yeah, we'll get you a sample.
You can touch it.
Yep.
Okay, what is the most Heather item in the office?
Oh, the most Heather item in the office. So I went away from my normal Heather item because everything in my house is gray.
Okay.
And there's so much that my family teases me about. Well, what color do you want to do? And I say gray, and they say, of course you do. So we didn't do gray walls
No,
in
no.
this office.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try really hard to not suggest gray for
when,
anything going forward.
when we paint the new one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you could give customers, this is just a little bit of closing stuff here. If you could give customers one piece of advice before starting the selection journey, what would that be?
It's kind of a cliche, but trust the process.
Hmm.
We have the experience. We've been doing this for a long time, and we know the things that need to be picked in the order that they need to be picked in with a little bit of leeway, but for the most part. So if you trust in the process, trust in that we know that we're going to make sure that this comes out with the right information at the right time, all the fancy pretty lovely stuff is going to it's going to come along the way and you're going to get to pick that stuff.
It's gonna
It's
happen.
going to
You'll
happen.
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What do you want people to know about building with Dueck builders?
It's actually quite lovely that we want to build your home, but we also want to build a relationship with you that lasts beyond your construction time.
Hmm.
We build relationships along the way, and it's really important to me to make sure that we're there for you through this build process, but then when it's over as well.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of fun and it's kind of rewarding to see the house lived in and
Yeah.
enjoyed, and yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. That's special. Favorite moment in the whole selection process? or the whole build process?
My favorite moment is when I can pull a whole bunch of samples together, lay them out on a table, and
Mm.
someone can look at what this could look like.
You will see the light bulb.
Yeah, you almost see the light bulb. Some people say like their favorite moment is when they walk in the home at the end. But when you can actually start to touch and feel some of these samples and see what the potential is, there's a different emotion that comes from that, and it's lovely to be in the room when that happens.
Well, and it's often like at the end of the project, it's just this relief to get in there, and it's
Well, and then it's moving boxes, and
right.
then you're not actually living in the space yet. It's not until like the first major holiday that you start to see what that could actually be like. But when you're in the build process and you have the kitchen cabinets and the flooring and the countertop and the ceramic tile backsplash and their handles, and you have everything all laid out on a table, and they go, "Oh, this is gonna be my kitchen. This is amazing." Like, there's a really lovely look and feel that comes from that.
Right, a rewarding
A
moment
rewarding moment, yeah.
for everyone because you've been
Yeah.
in the trenches together with
Yeah,
the customers too.
exactly.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Thanks for going over the selection process and for the work you do looking after the customers during that process. Actually, it is a long process. It really is, but it is rewarding.
Absolutely, thank you so much.